It's important to remember that visual storytelling is about creating illusions for the audience. Perhaps the most common illusion in film is that characters actually had conversations in real time, when in reality we stitch together conversations from pieces of multiple takes, perhaps even filmed days or weeks apart. Using the power of suggestion, filmmakers can convince the audience of a false reality. We see this all the time in movies and TV shows that are set in one city but filmed in another, like how iZombie is set in Seattle but actually films in nearby Vancouver, BC. Or how The Killing was set in Seattle but shot in Vancouver. Or how Grey's Anatomy and Frasier were set in Seattle, but yeah, you get the picture. But note how they create the illusion that they film in Seattle. They show stock footage and establishing shots in Seattle, and they talk about Seattle in their conversations. So we believe them. Stock video can really be a great tool. In a film I made called When Harry Met Sally, I got a few shots of me with like these cheap thrift store electronics and these awesome work goggles, and we intercut those shots with some stock video of big factory machines. After adding some sound design and some music, it creates a fun little sequence of my character creating a robot. And that brings up a good point. Sound is another way to trick the audience. And it's so easy. Just add the sound effect of a door knock or a doorbell. And it takes seconds in the edit, but that saves you a whole setup in production because you don't need to see the door knock. We heard it. Lighting is another way to create illusions. You can utilize lights that make night feel like daylight, such as in this shot from Grief or Madness, a short directed by Ash Calder. Or you could combine police-style lights with sound effects instead of getting actual cop cars in your scene. If we see the lights and hear the sirens, we might not need to see the car. The power of suggestion is what makes a lot of stunts work. In Christmas Vacation, William Hickey's character inadvertently blows up the Griswold family Christmas tree. He turns around to reveal that he's still on fire. In the close-up shots, we can see that it's still William Hickey. As he turns, it's still him. But we cut away quickly to Chevy Chase, and when we cut back, our eyes are so distracted by the fire and his motion of turning around is the same, we don't even notice that this is actually a much younger stunt guy now. And so the stunt totally works without setting a 65-year-old actor on fire. Comedy can also take advantage of suggestion. In this classic gag from Airplane, Ted Stryker tells us about his drinking problem. In our modern vernacular, that's always a euphemism for an alcohol problem. So this suggestion plays on our assumptions, and it's pretty funny.
And that, as much as anything else, led to my drinking problem.
Visual effects are greatly enhanced by clever suggestions to the audience. One of the first big CGI masterpieces was Jurassic Park, and more than 20 years later, the visual effects still hold up. And it holds up well because Spielberg knew the limitations of CGI. When we saw close-ups of the dinosaurs, like these raptors here, they used practical effects like puppets. So we see all that glorious detail, the texturing, the shadows, and it feels real. So when they back out wider to a slightly further away and a little bit less polished CGI dinosaur, our brains fill in all that realism and detail because we saw it already. And it's not just technical stuff. The power of suggestion works really well with entire scenes, such as the council scene from the original version, The Assurance, that we changed into a church. We just got rid of the shots of Tayani that looked like she was on trial, as well as any shots of Mark Holland looking directly at Tayani, and cut around any times we see Cordelia, and boom. We repurpose that into something completely different using the power of suggestion. Plot twists usually have their roots in something that was previously suggested to the audience, such as when Obi-Wan Kenobi taught Luke Skywalker about his father.
I was once a Jedi Knight, the same as your father.
He was being honest, technically, but a little misleading, and that set up great twists in the sequels. Now, we could go on forever about the power of suggestion, because that's really all of what filmmaking is. Remember, as you're planning shots and trying to make better films with less money, you might not have to show it if you can suggest it.